Turning now to your community focus. From a new registry for landlords to the Washington Bridge and much more, there is always a lot of ground to cover with Attorney General Peter Neronha. He joins us live once a month here on 12 News at 4. Thanks for being here.
Sure, Kim.
So let's start with that new lead registry for landlords. It's meant to provide tenants more information and by doing so, hopefully keep people, especially children, healthy and lead free. You've been a huge proponent of this since it was introduced. It's been a bit of a bumpy rollout. The website wasn't working at first, and now there's some concerns because there aren't that many lead inspectors and there's going to be a backlog. The governor's administration had called this an unfunded mandate and had wanted to delay the implementation. Was he right?
No.
Why
no,
not?
Because this is such an important thing for children's health. And the website, look, if the question is the governor wasn't ready to roll the website out, this was passed over a year ago, so there was plenty of time to get the website up and running. And in fact, we tried to assist, and I think in the end did assist the Department of Health in getting it up and running. And I think it was only down for a short period of time. And the requirement to have a lead-free apartment is over 20 years old. So anyone who doesn't have it done by now, unless you're in an owner-occupied dwelling, which is the vast minority of such rental units, you've had to do this for 20 years and you've been ignoring the law. So if anything, the inability of landlords to get their apartments inspected by now at the expense of children's health tells us why the registry was necessary and as soon as possible, because they wouldn't have gotten them inspected and compliant had the registry not come into existence. There was no reason to delay the registry, and the governor, in delaying it, put children's health behind whoever lobbied him to delay the registry rollout. And the Department of Health, frankly, should have been ready. I give them a lot of credit for doing what they needed to do in the end.
Let's talk about the Washington Bridge. There's been a pause in the demolition of the westbound span to preserve some evidence in the ongoing lawsuit. First of all, I've just sort of been curious. Can you say what evidence is being preserved?
Well, I think Kim, not to sort of, I don't want to diminish your question, but the litigation is over. What should have been found or shouldn't have been found. And so the areas that now are clear, at least to the litigation team and our experts, of what should have been found need to be preserved so we can show a jury what the defendants allegedly missed. And so it's a very necessary part of the litigation that the governor has from virtually day one prioritized as his day of reckoning. Where that falls with respect to the priority of getting a bridge built isn't my issue. My issue is to try to do the case as best we can, and to do that, you need the evidence preserved so you can show a jury exactly what was missed here.
I want to be clear. Did RIDOT and the state know before they began demolition that they would need to preserve pieces of the bridge? Well,
I think it's obvious, frankly, to any lawyer. And any lawyer would tell a client, and does tell a client, what is needed to bring an effective case.
So had they been told?
Look, I don't want to get into the specifics of an attorney-client relationship. Let me just say this, that you have here a very experienced litigation team that the governor himself chose. And so I think one need only reflect on the capability of Mr. Savage and Mr. Wistow, let alone my team, to know whether or not the client, or at least the governor's office, has been given notice and advice that is proper and relevant to the moment.
And when will demolition resume?
Well, that really depends on when the preservation is completed. But look, I think the bottom line here is that this necessary part of the litigation is not going to delay the building of the new bridge by a minute. Not by a minute. I can say that with the confidence I have that you and I are standing here together. We don't even have, as we stand here today, a proposal for a bridge, let alone a bridge being built. I think the timeline has just changed because of the need to take out the substructure, which was a new development, which DOT has disclosed recently. So a several-week pause, and when I say several, we're talking about a handful of weeks pause, to preserve necessary evidence for a day of reckoning the governor chose to put into place. I want to be very clear, it's not going to delay the building of this bridge by 1 second.
We've got less than 30 seconds, and I just want to get this in here. We learned last month that the federal government is awarding your new cold case unit $500,000. Just quickly, what's that going to be used for?
Yeah, scientific testing to help us solve these cases. That requires experts that didn't exist in the years when these murders happened, and this will allow us to hopefully bring justice to many families in Rhode Island.
All right, Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Neronha, that's all the time that we have, but thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Kim. It's great to be with you.
And please join us tomorrow when Peter Gaynor will be here. He's the former head of the Providence EMA, the Rhode Island EMA, and was also tapped by former President Donald Trump to lead FEMA. We'll speak with him about the response to the storms down south following those hurricanes. That's tomorrow on 12 News at 4.